Welcome to the Authentic Leaders Rising podcast, where high achieving entrepreneurs and leaders come to receive deep, insightful conversations and practical guidance to move from hustle to flow without sacrificing their authentic self and the results. I am your host and Chief Energy Officer, Tammy Cho, a former patient care leader turned international best-selling author, speaker, and face and body analysis expert. Get ready to lead your authenticity, lead your energy, and lead your impact. Hi, everyone. Thank you for tuning in and being here. Welcome to the Authentic Leaders Rising podcast. I have a special guest here with me today, Nafissa Shireen. I'll tell you a little bit about her, but I'm super excited because I've actually experienced her work and she really brings a wealth of knowledge and horses with her to really help you tap into the deepest authentic part of your being and your leadership. And so welcome, Nafissa.
Thank you, Tammy. And I am so honored to be interviewed by you. It's really cool since we have gotten to know each other a little bit. So I'm really looking forward to this journey today.
Yeah, and just seeing where it goes because we all know we set our intention before starting, and this is going to really serve the audience with what they need to hear, and that whoever's drawn to Nafissa to be guided towards her and the power for horses that she works with. And Nafissa Shireen is the founder of the Prosperous Women Coaching Company, and she's the owner of Believe and See Ranch, which is super beautiful. And she empowers Gen X women, leaders, to experience this deep personal transformation. And she's committed to really helping our clients create prosperous careers and businesses that are fully aligned with who they are at their core and to really embody their natural born leadership. So she does this through retreats, workshops, and private immersions. And she incorporates the healing and transformational presence of horses, guiding her clients to really break through and shift the energy and leadership from the inside out so that you could get lasting results. And so welcome once again, Nafissa.
Thanks, Tammy.
Yeah, first of all, I just want to start by just asking you, working with horses, that's very unique and different. And I'm always curious to find out where did that journey start for people and why are you doing what you're doing today and why are you so passionate about it?
It's where the journey started was with myself having to be good enough horsewoman for my own horse. So I am a bit of an accidental horsewoman. I used to ride a lot in my teens and early 20s, but it was trail riding. So I was never fully responsible for a horse. I would just get on the back of a horse and be a passenger while somebody else led the charge. And then it would be almost 30 years ago now, I went on a trail ride in Maple Ridge, which is really, it's the town where I live, but I didn't live here back then. It was, to me, it was so far away from Vancouver, but this is where I came out with a bunch of friends and we went on a trail ride and I ended up on a runaway horse. And it was a really scary experience because I had lost my stirrups, I lost my reins, and the horse was galloping. And I knew at the end of this trail, there was a sharp right turn and a bridge. And I was really worried I was going to just go over that because he was going to have to short stop. Right. And I thought I was going to go over it. So all I could do was just hold on to the horn. And I did. And when the horse came to a stop, I got off the horse and I walked. I was like not going to ride him. And I walked back with everybody and I didn't go near a horse for 15 years. So when we eventually moved out to where I live now in Maple Ridge of all places, I would drive by this riding school every day. And so I decided maybe I really need to get over this. That had been like 15 years or 14 years. And I thought I need to get over this. And so I started taking lessons and from one thing led to another. The lesson horse ended up becoming my horse. And I was really scared of him because all I had known about horses before that was I would go somewhere, somebody else would put a saddle on them, somebody else would have them ready, and I just followed. Now here I had to learn how to take care of this horse, and it was a whole different story. So I was really scared, and I shared him with somebody for a few years. So she had the lion's share of the work, and then she got her own horse. And then I had him and I was like, what the heck am I going to do? What am I going to do here? And I know he had been passed around to a lot of different owners. And prior to her getting her own horse, I had thought, I was actually seriously thinking about asking her if she just wanted him 100% at the time. But she beat me to it. And I remember thinking, no, I don't want this. And then I felt that I couldn't just like give him to somebody else. I had to step up and cowgirl up, as they call it. And so I started diving into different coaches that could help me to expand my knowledge in horsemanship. And through all of that, as I was transforming, around the same time in my career, I had a new big position too that was really scary. And so I was finding that a lot of the lessons I was learning from being able to be around this horse, this big horse, applied it, in my job. And I just started to see a lot of parallels with that. And then as I started to learn that, and I sorry, that piece actually happened while I was still sharing him. So it's so many years ago, my brain is a little fuzzy. But that was happening while I was still sharing him, because I was still scared of him when I was sharing him too, and I had to learn all these things. And then when I was suddenly responsible for him, I had to go through a whole other metamorphosis, because to be what he needed me to be, I had to overcome a whole lot of mindset, a lot of fear, a
Mhm.
lot of personal issues, just a whole lot of my own stuff came up. And so as I
Mhm.
noticed, as I became better for him, all of those lessons applied in my life too, and I became better for me. But this was just strictly regarding actual horsemanship. I didn't know about this thing called equine assisted learning. And then around 2013, I'd completely left the corporate world. And because I think I got him like in 2008 or 2007. I can't remember. It was around 2013. I'd completely left the corporate world and I started going into coaching. And in one of the training programs, one of the ladies who was in it with me did this work. And I was very intrigued by it. And I started reading books by Linda Kwanov, who is a pioneer in this work. And I started to see a lot of the things she was speaking about. And then I just got really fascinated. And as I started to really build my own coaching business and seeing results with people, I was still seeing how everything I was doing at the barn was my best personal development.
Mhm.
And I hired coaches, I hired mentors, I did training, but that was my better personal development. And so I started wondering, could I do this? And I had a lot to learn about. This is 11 years ago. I had a lot to learn about horses, about safety, about the actual art and craft and modality of equine facilitated coaching on top of
Mhm.
all the coaching I was learning. And so it was an evolution. And then in 2018 we bought the farm, and it's been history since then.
Wow, it is evolution. And I love how you move from that, the place of fear of being just on a horse that was out of control and you had to surrender
Yeah.
and yeah, surrender into developing the new, I don't know, the steps in evolution
Yeah.
towards where you are today. And it's beautiful to have a horse and to have that reflected back to you,
Yeah.
your own work reflected back to you. And that's a perfect way to learn. And yeah, and so I'm curious, what do you support people with? Like, what exactly, when you have someone come into your space, maybe it's best to start with who you support and what are some of the common challenges that these people come to you have when they show up, you know?
Sure. Yeah. And
Yeah.
this also has been as much of an organic journey as my journey into horses, because I have been working as a coach since 2013. We bought the ranch in 2018 and we brought the horses into it in 2019 because we had a lot of renovations to do here first. And so in my work with entrepreneurs, what ended up coming through is I was attracting a lot of women who were in a similar age as me, like a lot of Gen X women that were mid career that wanted to make a change, or that had a business that was doing okay financially but was sucking their soul dry. And these were consistent themes where I was helping them to, at that point, really, I was a quote business coach, right? But I never really worked on their business. And for me, business is actually quite easy. I'm a former accountant. I worked in mining. I was vice president of a gold mining company. Like, I had a whole career prior to doing this. So that part was easy. And I got really fascinated with, why aren't you doing this? Or why are you struggling with this? And I came to realize that a lot of people, and the women I was working with, were struggling with identity, because you get to a certain point in your middle age and you're like, is this who I am? Is this what I've created? You are dealing with other people's expectations. You are dealing with having served everyone else but yourself.
Mhm.
And for some reason, especially if clients have had a corporate career in the past, there is this guilt about wanting what they want, or even wanting to say what they want. So I started to notice a lot of those themes. And so gradually, as I worked with my clients to help them build their business, what I really found I was helping them do was build themselves and transform themselves so they could step into who their business needed them to be. And that would mean with their leadership, with their decisions, with their boundaries, with their energy, all of that. And then it was easy to implement a strategy because a strategy will work if you're working with it. So I started to really morph away from calling myself a business coach versus more of a non-business coach kind of thing. They would still get the result. They would get the results in their business, but that was the side effect, I guess you could say, of really transforming themselves. And I worked a lot with belief change and leadership and just some energy modalities. And then as I started to bring the horses in, it was like it would compress time. Like it was just amazing to see that transformation because when my clients, like we would work together online and traditional type of coaching, but they would come here for their VIP days or for retreats with other people that were in my programs. And it was amazing to see it. It sounds silly to say it's amazing because I had been through it myself. Like I said, that nothing helped me develop more than having to be who my horse needed me to be. So I knew it was possible, but this was in a different capacity because they didn't need to learn how to ride, look after, deal with all those things, but the whole part of the horse mirroring who they were or showing up for them, of the horse having a reaction to them or not having a reaction to them, they got to see themselves in a whole different way. And so the work we were doing in our coaching program and what they were going for in their goals would really accelerate when they would spend time with the horses, because that in that place I'm just there to hold space and safety. It's really
Mm,
the work is happening with the client and the horse, and they're learning from the best teacher there is, themselves, and the horse is
mhm,
mirroring that back to them. So there's so many different ways that the horse helps with them, whether that's in confidence or boundaries or leadership or even just pure clarity and self-reflection, whether we're working, and you've seen and witnessed some of this where you might be working actively or working very quietly with them. Two different experiences,
mhm.
both very profound but very different, but they're all mirrors of how you start to see what's going on inside you, and the horses will confirm like whether you're being honest with yourself or you're not.
Yeah, beautiful. Just like backtracking a little bit, like I love what you talk about is oftentimes like whatever whatever goal we're moving towards in our business, work, whatever, it's there's often this place that we neglect that inner transformation piece. And I
Mhm.
love how you morphed your business to actually deal with the piece that actually is going to make that difference, because there's people
Yeah.
that do all the right things and take all the action, but then they're not bringing their inner self along.
Yeah.
And I think this is what probably comes up with the challenges with people not knowing who they are, their identity piece
Mhm.
that you were talking about.
Yes.
We talk very much about authentic leadership. And I think what you do is really aligned to bring someone back to the truth of themselves, the core
Mhm.
of who they are. And
Mhm.
so, Nafisa, just for people that never experienced this equine leadership, horse leadership type work, how does the horses come in to reflect that exactly, just so people could wrap their heads around it who are
Sure.
listening and haven't experienced the work?
Each experience is very unique to the person, right? And you've experienced it, so you know that.
Yes.
I like to say that when we set up, whether it's a personal experience or a group experience, that we will bring an intention to what we're doing, but the agenda is going to switch because we hold the attention, the horse holds the agenda. So we are responding in real time to what is happening with that horse or not happening with that horse. I have a colleague of mine who speaks about retreats in general, like not horse retreats, but she does retreats. And she wrote a book, and I remember a line in there that she used. I'm like, that's exactly it. When you take people out of their everyday scenario, we can catch their energy in action. And so we have a really authentic response. And so when they're working with the horses, we will typically have a very authentic response in a more active situations. For instance, if you are trying to lead a horse and you're not fully feeling authentic and congruent, and for those who might be horsewomen listening to this, is not about moving the horse with horsemanship and clucking and tools and all the little tricks that we're all taught on how to move a horse, because you can do that. You can, like in anything in life, you can cheat around it. It's about really just feeling into your own energy and being with that horse. And they might follow, they might not follow, they might block you, they might bonk you on the head. They will do yeah, you've had them, yeah. And they really do respond. I had a client here not too long ago where one of my horses, and it was amazing to watch because I never know what's actually going to happen when we go to the arena. And these are horses that I live with and know very well, and they still sometimes surprise the daylights out of me with what they do. And so I know this is just reaction to the person. And so as she was sitting there, she was sitting on a barrel behind the barn. You're familiar with that space. And she was sitting there, and he starts walking the perimeter of this small paddock, and he's walking, and then he would stop and he would look at her, and she just wanted him to come over, and he wouldn't. And he would sidle up to her very quietly, and he'd get just so close, and then he'd do that and walk away. And I'm like, he's going psych. Like, you could see that. I've never seen this. And this was really eye opening for her to go, what, why is he doing this? Why? What? And I don't know. You have to tell me why, because I've lived with this horse for 5 years. He doesn't do this. So what's happening inside you right now? And that becomes a very interesting place for somebody, and they can be very vulnerable in that moment because I actually can't tell them why the horse is doing that. All I know is they know why. There's something going on inside them, and it becomes a real awareness piece. And in this particular case, the client just needed to surrender to the moment. And so these are the type of things that can happen. Or a lot of things we'll do sometimes is with leading, and whether the horse follows or not is really dependent on the person's energy. And so that provides an opening to coach somebody through it and to ask the questions if they're open
Mhm.
to it, right? If they're feeling stuck, to say, what's happening for you right now? What's happening in your body? And that's my job, is to notice that and ask those questions so the person can bring awareness to it and be very aware of, oh, I was really off in my head and I was really worried about this, or I was thinking that, or I was holding my breath, or I was checked out and thinking about dinner, right?
Mm.
Those are the type of things that will come up. And then you can say, this is what's happening with the horse. You've checked out, and so has he. So where was the checkout? And so then we can start to really drill down and go deeper. And it's fascinating because every person, it's something totally different. Like, it's,
Yeah, and I had to agree with that because I think I've experienced it, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 times in different experience in group settings, individual settings, and I completely received a different experience from these horses
yeah,
again and again. And it's quite amazing. Like how I come to think of it, like very much sometimes when we're in a sales call where
yeah,
we're in our energy and what we're saying and things like that. And sometimes we're maybe feeling like someone is reacting though not the way we think, or we can make up all these things. And like having, it's like having that, but you're having the horse represent the other person, and
yeah,
it's directly reflecting back to you what's going on inside of you.
yeah,
Because in a sales call, whoever comes on is actually reflecting back to you your energy in so many
yes,
ways. And often we don't get to see that. And with Nafisa's horses, it's literally in real time, like everything that I'm feeling, what I'm thinking in my head, like if I'm disconnecting, like sometimes I may not know I'm disconnecting, yet the horse will directly reflect that and catch me in the moment, like very much like a teacher in the moment, so to speak, or when I'm just like not in my body, even, or something like
hmm,
that. And these are the places that really affect our leadership in daily lives. And to
yeah.
be this real with ourselves is important if we need to step up in our leadership, in our business, in our lives, wherever that is for you. And so, what comes up for you when I say that, Nafisa?
Well, and I thank you for giving those examples because that is very pertinent. So, for instance, when you talk about not being in your body, to a horse, that they don't feel safe with somebody who's not in their body. So, a lot of times, what that reaction will be is them just not feeling safe. And if you think about it, as humans, we also don't feel safe when we're around somebody who is not in their body. Except
Mhm.
as humans, all this other stuff starts going on in our head. Is my hair okay? Is this happening? What's she thinking? Is she thinking this of me? And you're thinking, what is she thinking? All that mental chatter is
Noise.
happening. And we aren't necessarily open to be receiving that feedback from people, even if it's not like direct feedback. I'm just talking energetic feedback, or how they're responding, because we're so worried about how they're responding versus how we're responding. Like, there's just so much there. And with people, there is always an agenda. with feedback. It could be a good agenda, it could be to help. It could be, even as a coach, we have an agenda where we want to help this person, right? So saying we have an agenda isn't a bad thing. All it means is, as humans, we come colored with bias. With
Hmm. Hmm.
horses, they don't have any of that. They are just reacting in the moment. It is pure, innocent feedback because they don't have time to
Hmm.
think about it. They're not thinking about it. And if you're not feeling safe right now, they're going to let you know that. And then if somehow something shifts inside you where you do feel safe, then they're going to let you know that. And they're going to completely forget about the fact that they didn't feel safe. Whereas with humans, we're going to be holding on to what just happened. That's what makes this so beautiful, because it is a very psychologically safe way to learn about yourself, because you're
Hmm.
getting feedback from an ethereal being that has no agenda. They're just responding in the moment.
Yeah, and I think this is why we feel so safe around kids because
Yeah.
they're so innocent and
Yeah.
we never feel judged. And it's like that, except it's a horse that it's someone that, yeah, I guess they're not a child and
Yeah.
they're adult and Nafisa's horses are trained specifically for this type of work. And it's just amazing how they bring their own personalities in it. And I would say it's like a not a surface layer awareness. It's Nafisa comes in and she asks exactly the right questions because she's so connected to the energy of her horses. And it's your awareness just deepens to a level that you just cannot go to by yourself, is what I would say. And the minute to minute, because like sometimes you may have a pattern where you have a mask that you put on and
Mhm.
then the first mask comes off because you're like, oh yeah, I guess I'm actually feeling this and I don't actually mean this. And
Mhm.
then sometimes we retract back to being scared. And then we fall back into our old patterns, even in the moment of that first realization. And
Yeah.
so Nafisa actually guides you on a journey where she opens up that again and again to, in a way, Nafisa's energy and the horse's energy is just a place of safety on the backdrop of Believe and See Ranch, which is beautiful and amazing, really beautiful place to have these inner awakenings and experiences because like you said, Nafisa, it's away from the busyness of life where
Mhm.
we're triggered by all these things or busy
Yeah.
anyways with all these things. And so it's just amazing experience to have a personalized session. And even in the group sessions, right? Like I had some really deep awarenesses, just it was light and fun. It doesn't always have to be like going so
Well,
deep, right?
totally. Yeah. Yeah. Because we've done certain things where we've done team type exercises, and it's really, it can be a lot of fun to see the team dynamic when you have this really big animal in the middle of it, and it requires communication and patience and observation versus inference, and we start to learn these things about ourselves, right? Especially if I have worked with teams where they'll say, well, that horse is really mad, right? And that somebody will say something like that, and then just my question is that horse mad? Is that observation, or is that inference? And they're like, I inferred it, right? Because you can't actually know if a horse is mad. Well, what was it that made you think he was mad? And people will give their interpretation. And what's really interesting is, while we can never know for sure 100% if a horse is mad, as a horsewoman, there's very clear signs that I can look for in their body language, and we can say, oh, his ears were pointing forward, his face was soft and relaxed, all these things. He just wasn't interested. So those are two different things. So how did you infer this? And then they start to realize where in other parts of their life they might be inferring different things that aren't happening. And I had a client here, and she gave me permission, and this is on my Facebook page, it's way back in June, where one of the exercises was to ask the horse to leave, like to send him off into a trot and a full canter. And she was really struggling with it. And she was getting very triggered. And everything I'm talking about right now is everything. She's actually given me permission to speak about it and to speak bluntly. So I do have her permission with this. And so when I saw that one of the people had the camera running and she had it the whole time, I didn't realize that. So I had 20 minutes of footage, and I was able to condense it down into a few spots. And I sent it to her saying, I just want you to see where you were, what you thought you were asking versus what the horse was receiving. And so that's what she asked me to share, that because she didn't realize any of that. And what was really fascinating is because one of the things she struggles with is she thinks sometimes people don't listen to her. And so she was
Mm.
getting very triggered that she wasn't being paid attention to, she wasn't being listened to. And if you, when you watch the video, through her body language, that horse was doing everything she was asking with her body, everything.
Mhm.
And he was glued to her, and his ears were pointed on her, and he was concentrating, but he wasn't doing what she wanted. And it was because she didn't know how to ask for what she wanted. And that's okay, right? And this isn't, you don't come here to learn how to be a horse person. That's not the point of it. What she did learn, though, was how it can be very easy to get triggered when you think people aren't listening to you, when maybe they're just not understanding you, or they're responding to what they think you're saying. So that was the bigger learning. She didn't need to learn how to lunge a horse. This is not a horsemanship lesson, but it was so
Mhm.
much about herself. And so when she saw that video and saw that, she just, I wonder where else I'm missing things. So
Yeah.
it's that becomes a very fascinating way to go. And it's, again, it's psychologically safe because you can drop the masks, and you will, people do drop the masks. And that's, I find, part of the real beauty of this work, because I've been coaching people for a really long time, and I've held events and I've done all kinds of things. And you can
Mhm.
be in a room with people, even in an intimate group, and the masks are still on because they're wanting to show up a certain way or receive a certain way, and they're not
Mhm.
allowing themselves to just be. And the horse is going to trigger you. The horse will be like, oh, really? Let's take that mask off, right? And the point is, they're there to trigger you. And it's a gift to ourselves to be allowed to do that, and for it to be okay to drop. It is okay to have an ugly moment, to drop the mask, to have a realization, to ugly cry, to dance a happy dance because you're just so elated, like just your pure emotion, and to bring your body into it, because that is one of the biggest, and you know this with the work you do, our body is is the primary information receiver, right? And we tune that out to our mind. And it's not that we want to give up our logical reasoning to primal instincts, but we do need to bring those primal instincts a little bit up and balance them. And when we're with the horses, we give ourselves an opportunity to do that because they need us to be in our body. And when we think about listening to the signals of our body, we tend to think of, oh, self care, or I'm hungry, or I need rest, or all of that. But when you're with the horses, you get the opportunity to listen to your body in a much bigger way. What do I need? What do I need philosophically? What do I need purpose wise? What does my body telling me? And you harmonize the mind and the body, and the horses help facilitate that by their reflecting back to you. It's pretty cool.
It is super cool. And I believe this is why in many ways we're drawn to each other, like
Yeah.
how people remove masks in a different way. And so do
Yeah.
you. And this is, and I do want to ask you, like, what does authentic leadership mean to you and the work that you bring to people?
I feel like authentic leadership is really, is 100% being true to ourselves, because we are all leaders in our own way. And yes, some people are maybe more natural born leaders and some are more natural born followers in terms of when you look at an organization. But we all have the ability to lead and make a difference in our lives and in our immediate world around us. And to me, being an authentic leadership means we're standing firm in our convictions. We are confident in who we are. We're not apologetic for our beliefs and how we view things. And that we're also open to that other people are going to be different, but we're okay with that difference. And we are just confident in ourselves, and we lead with that. And leadership can have, and leadership and power, those are words that can be really hot buttons, because we sometimes can think that we can confuse bossy with leadership. There's that quote that says, don't tell a girl she's bossy when she's showing leadership skills. And I'm like, no, those are two different things. And that's why people get a little bit triggered. No, leadership doesn't have to be a very charged sort of thing, right? Where
Yeah.
there's drive energy and draw energy, and there's just different ways. And some people are more natural at drive, and some are more natural at draw and drawing things in. And so being able to really tap into what our natural leadership strength is, what powers us forward, because we can go to a leadership course and you can listen and you can be told what you should be doing, but if that doesn't work for you, you're not going to be very effective in leadership because it's not your authentic leadership. And so with the work you do, I know you help people find that, and the horses help people find that. And that's when people have the most results and peace of mind and peace, just like peace of spirit, because they're leading from who they are and how they are authentic.
Yeah, yeah, thank you for sharing that because it's true. Like it's like leadership to you is leading with your essence, your
Yes.
energy, like what you bring naturally being yourself. It's not
Yes.
like listening to a textbook or a course.
Yeah.
It's yeah, literally finding yourself, and in that finding yourself, you become the better leader.
Yeah.
Like
And
it's
being
not
effective.
yeah, and being highly effective. And so, Nafisa, share with us what are some of the ways like doing this horse pack has impacted you in your physical life and even some of your clients and what they were able to receive from the impact of this work?
Sorry, I'm not sure I understand that the question.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah. So, for someone who's going through your work, like what kind
Mhm,
of and for yourself or for your
mhm.
clients, what is how does that impact show up in their life in the sense of what type of results? What does that look like in their business results? I
Sure.
know you do business, but you don't,
Yeah.
but you also get the results
Yeah.
in a non-linear way, so to speak. So I'm
Yes.
curious, what does that paint a picture for us?
Okay, if I take it back to myself, for me, before I get to the clients, because I'm with my horses all the time too, and obviously I don't facilitate myself the way my own coach or mentor might facilitate me with a horse, right? But I do still try to receive and see what the messages are that they're giving to me in any given moment. And I do spend a lot of time myself in quiet contemplation with them
Mm,
because I really get into me, but people in general, when you're with a horse in their natural state, they co-regulate nervous systems. Heart Math has a whole study on it. Look it up, right? They co-regulate, and so they help you get into your parasympathetic state. So that's where the clarity for me a lot of times comes in. And if I'm stuck
mm,
or I'm not sure what I want to do, I'll just go plop myself down and sit with them, and then I come in and I have all these ideas popping up. In
what a
terms of
gift.
the active leadership, I have to manage a farm. I have to manage four really large animals. I have to have them move when I want them to move. And it was really funny. Like the other day, horses, Wolf, how big he is. And my husband needed to go fix something on the door of his stall, and he had a drill, and Wolf was in the stall. And I said, you can't drill with him in there because he might get scared and run you over. And so I said, just ask him to leave. And I sat there watching. My husband could not get him to leave, and I just walk up, poke my head in, point my finger to the door I want him to go, and the horse just turns around and leaves. So they really respond to like confident energy. He wasn't confident. I think when I bring that in terms of clients, they start to see how effective they can be in their confidence. They learn that sometimes being firm is a kindness because it makes everybody feel a lot more safe because they know what's expected. And they start to see that these things that they've been afraid of are things that people are waiting for. And they start to learn a lot of that about themselves. They also learn how their energy does show up differently in different situations because we do try to, as the way I say it is, the exercises we do are not things you're going to experience in real life, but the emotions are. And we're going to mimic the dynamic. And so when they're working with a horse, they can suddenly learn how they respond or are triggered in different situations and see where they're more effective and where they're less effective and where they're triggered, which helps them be aware when they leave the arena. Okay, this is exactly what triggered me here before, where they might not realize they were triggered. They just might think they're not getting results. So these are the type of things they start to become a lot more mindful of
Mm,
how they're influencing the situation. They become a lot more mindful of how they're able to create results or not create results. They get a lot more confident in their in boundary setting. I had a client here one time who directly, and this was like a direct financial link because she was really worried about boundaries, and her job was to stop the horse with just her energy. Just stop it. Because the thing about a boundary, the thing about why we get upset or where anger is anger. We get angry because a boundary has been crossed. And why are boundaries crossed? Because people don't know they're there. Yeah, yeah, sure. There are some people who really don't care. They know they're there and they're just like that. But most people are quite respectful of boundaries, but are oblivious to what they are. And
mhm,
so we can sometimes get triggered because someone hasn't respected our boundary. So when we're with the horses, we learn to actually create that boundary in a way that if we have to say no and push back, feels okay. But also they learn how to just project that so that It doesn't even have to be an issue, right? Things like that. Because I guess the best way to describe that is how, just think about when your circle of friends or family, if somebody needs a favor, there's one person they'll always ask and there's one they'll never ask. Right?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
they usually don't have any bad feelings about the one they'll never ask. They that person is just so clear on what their boundaries are. And the one they always ask probably isn't. And so these are the type of things people learn. Okay, how can I have it so that I don't have to, if something's important to me, I don't have to have my boundary crossed. And then we're not talking about being somebody that nobody ever asks anything from. It's not what I mean. But I'm just saying more in the sense that we can have boundaries. The people just know when we are energetically strong and projecting something that matters to us, they won't cross it. And so we learn to do that with the horses. And so some of the exercises, there's just so many different things we do, and it's all really client led on what they need. But if
Yes.
they're working on, we have one exercise that's called Protect What Matters, and they will protect a bowl of food from the horse. And the horse is everything that's, the bowl of food represents what matters, and the horse represents everything that could get in the way. And it's amazing because when they think about what they put in each bowl, you can see which one is an easy protection and which other one they really struggle with protecting, but they want to. And I've
Mhm.
actually seen people get angry because the horse isn't respecting their boundary, and they're not doing anything to the horse. I'm just talking about their body language, and I can say, "Hey, you got really mad at that one. What was going on?" And they'll talk about what that represented. And so when we ask, "Was this something that you struggle to not enforce but uphold in your day-to-day life? Is this something that you feel not respected?" And it always is.
Mm.
And then the horse mimics that. And so then they're able to start to put in the calm, safe energy around themselves, put that bubble around themselves, and notice how the horse will respond. And then they can remember what that feels like and take that back out to the real world.
Yeah, like it's something about understanding, like recognizing this and how it could, you feel more very confident in one area and how it could show up differently in
Yeah.
another scenario,
Yeah.
and then connecting to that embodiment of it and
Yes.
making those connections and
Yes.
then taking it out to the real world it was just super powerful for me when I had my real releases where the horse was literally surrendering with me, and for me to really feel that because I couldn't see what I couldn't see, and it was really affecting my energy. And if you've been in personal development field for a while, you're aware that everything is created by the energy we are operating
Yeah.
from. And although sometimes energy could be very intangible, it is affecting literally every area of your life. And that's the power of this type of work
Yeah.
that Nafisa is talking about, and to have it made tangible so that you could harness that, harness you, you
Yes.
know?
Yeah. And
So
what's so cool is it does become tangible and you can feel it change in real time because the horse has no agenda, right? With someone else, you don't always get to shift that in real time because it's too late. The feelings and emotions have been triggered. Whereas you get to embody it and feel how it feels in your body the different ways when you don't feel safe, when you feel safe, when you feel
mm,
strong.
yeah. And when we get it in our body, it just
Yeah.
shifts us in a way that our mind won't understand.
Yeah.
It's a way that you just feel like the confidence and it's
Yeah.
in your body and it
Yeah.
has the memory locked in there,
Yeah.
that you will naturally, it will come out of you once needed.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And I know we could go on forever, Nafisa, but
Yeah.
I would love to share. Please share with us, like any offerings you have. What would you like to bring to the audience today?
We're about to, in terms of the ranch, we are about to, it's September 18th or 17th today. So we're getting close to the end of our retreat and workshop season just because of weather. But we will be starting to be promoting our 3 and 4 day retreats for next summer in the next little while. So if people are following me on social media, I don't have any opt ins or offers for it. Like it's a very organic business. If you
Yeah.
follow me on my ranch pages, you'll see what that is. And so that's what we're getting ready for. We had a very busy this summer this year and it was amazing, and we have a great herd of horses here that I'm biased. I just think they're the best. All horses are awesome. Everybody's going to think their horses are the best, and they're right.
Yeah, yeah, and they are really
Yeah,
great. Like
yeah,
I'm just like you have amazing horses. They're so gorgeous and beautiful. And Nafisa, I know that. But for those that don't know, Nafisa's ranch is in Vancouver, Greater Vancouver, BC, specifically Maple Ridge. For those that don't know, it's located in a suburb, so to speak,
yeah,
of the bigger city. So it's surrounded by trees and forests, and she's got this beautiful mini pond lake,
yeah.
whatever you want to call it. But yeah, it's just a gorgeous setting. So if you're looking to have retreats somewhere or to just book a retreat for yourself to be in a location like this, like it's just highly recommended and suggested. And please follow Nafisa. I know you're really active on social media, and
Mhm.
she really cares about the horses. It's not from the sometimes I don't see this in other people that I followed. I really like how Nafisa cares for her horses in a really humane, loving way. And she speaks about it on her posts, and it just really shows the quality of the person Nafisa is. So I just really want to commend you and
Thank you.
recognize that. It's
Thank you.
really, yeah, it really comes out from you whenever you speak about your horses and we work together. Yeah. And so please, if people want to get a hold of you, Nafisa, where would they go?
They can go to Nafissa Shireen, my Facebook page, or Believe in Sea Ranch. And that's probably the easiest because that is the web page, that is my YouTube, that is my TikTok, that is my Instagram with everything about the farm. It's all Believe in Sea Ranch. And there again, there's also a Facebook page for that too. So that's the easiest way to find me on anything is look it up. Or if you look up Nafissa Shireen, that's on Facebook and LinkedIn. And
Okay,
there's
beautiful.
the person's there. The ranch is all on the other pages.
Yeah, and I'll make sure to put these links at the in the show notes so people could click because one thing we know is it's important to just get to know people before we work with them. So this is perfect to dive into that and to get to know, especially if you're drawn to horses and you've always been that part of you has been curious and drawn and you heard about it, but you never experienced it. And we all should experience something at least once. And so definitely, Nafisa, I highly recommend her. And
Thank you.
I'm so happy to have you here today. I'm just curious, are there any last words you want to say to the audience before we move on?
Um, I guess I would just say that we all have a purpose and a calling, and we all have skills that we maybe haven't developed yet. And so the best thing we can do for ourselves is to just take that time. I do it through horses, but you have a different modality. Other people have different ways, and I just feel like whatever that is, getting to the heart of who you are and learning about your energy and your body, whichever way works for them is what's going to create the tangible difference, the tangible results in your life. And give yourself that is the ultimate in self care.
Yeah, yeah. It is the extra layer of self-care when especially if you're in leadership and you care to make that bigger difference.
Yeah.
It's around stepping up your self-care and this is exactly what Nafisa does. So
And
yes,
you
please.
too.
Yeah, to both
Yes,
of
you
us.
too.
And
Yes.
it's yeah, and it's we're called to people's energy for the reason. So yeah, reach out to me, reach out to Nafisa. Maybe me and Nafisa could explore some workshops in the future
That'll be
together. But yeah, it'll be really fun. And yeah, if you want to find out anything more, look to show notes. If you want to reach out to me directly, I'm happy to share my experience with Nafisa. And thank you again for taking the time to just have a convo with me here. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Tammy.
Thank you so much for listening to the Authentic Leaders Rising podcast. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe to our podcast so you never miss an episode. And leave us a review so others can find the life-changing content that we're sharing here. We are starting our movement on our way to #1, and we need your help to get there. If you'd like to connect with other high-achieving entrepreneurs and leaders who are also on their authentic, energetic leadership journey, join our free Facebook community, Energetically Aligned Leaders. Go to pathtotheheart.com/links to join the Facebook group, book your personalized face analysis experience, or to access our resources.